This morning, as I was reading Matthew 28 for the millionth time, I saw something that I had never seen before, and I think it is a good exhortation for leaders, especially visionary leaders, especially apostolic leaders. When I say apostolic, I don't mean apostles, but I mean apostolic thinkers who think expansion, who think global, who think what's the next campus, what's the next city, what's the next nation, and sometimes with mission-minded, visionary leaders, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves when it comes to doing the mission and doing the vision. So let me read the text and tell you what I feel like I saw that might be helpful for leaders. Matthew 28, verse 19. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So we know that commission from Jesus to the disciples. This go where? To the nations. Go make disciples of the nations. And this, it wasn't just to an individual, it was to a group. It's a go together on mission. And it's a big mission. But what I saw as I was reading this, there are three previous goes. There are three other goes before this go. And as a visionary global leader, sometimes I don't pay attention to the other go because I want to go to the nations. I want to go make disciples. I want to do those things and I want to be faithful to those things. And I know you do too. And I'm not saying in any way to delay going and making disciples and going to the nations. But there are some foundational ideas that we have to tend to as we go to the nations. And here we go. We begin with a proper understanding of the context, which is the first go in Matthew 27 and verse 65. And this is Pilate. Pilate is a government leader, okay? A politician. It's a government speaking to the leaders of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You have to read back a few verses to get that context. But here is government collusion with religious leaders. So government and religion together. And here's what Pilate says to the leaders of the Pharisees and Sadducees. He says, go make it as secure as you can. And what was that go? This was about them not wanting the idea of the resurrection to be propagated. These guards are sent. These people are there to make sure that the disciples don't start what they would call a rumor of the resurrection. And so what we see is government and religious tradition together, working together to stop the mission we're on, which is to let the world know that Jesus is alive, that He was raised from the dead. That's the heart of the gospel, that Jesus was resurrected. Right from the very beginning, we see there are people commissioned and sent to oppose our message. We're going, but there are others who are going to counter that. And so realize, and I know Paul later says that we don't fight and wrestle against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces. And these are spiritual forces. There's a spiritual force that is opposed to our mission and our message. Our mission to make disciples of all nations, our message of the resurrected, living, ruling Christ. So that's the first go, that there are people going to oppose us. The next go is an angel speaks to Mary and Mary. The two Marys, Mary Magdalene and what's just called the other Mary. They're at the tomb and they realize that Jesus isn't there and they encounter this angel, and the angel gives them a go message. But the angel said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for He has risen. And He said, come and see the place where He lay. Then here's the go, verse 7. Then go quickly, the angel to Mary and Mary, go quickly and tell His disciples that He is risen from the dead, and behold, He is going before you to Galilee. There you will see Him. And here's the message. Go to the disciples. Let them know Jesus is alive. Before we all go to the nations, this big global mission that we rally people to, we have to first know there are people going in opposition to us. Secondly, there is a going to the disciples to get on the same page. sometimes we go to the nations, but we haven't gone to the disciples. And I know like I said, for visionary leaders, sometimes we need to press pause for just a moment and make sure the disciples are all on the same page. Make sure the disciples are all living in an awareness of the living Christ, the resurrected Christ. So this message is go to the disciples. The next one is similar. Verse 9, so they're going, and then it says, and behold, Jesus met them. Now, the them is unclear whether it's the disciples that these women went to or whether it's Mary and Mary. You can read it over and over and over, and it's hard to discern which one. It doesn't really matter for the purpose of this message. But it says, behold, Jesus met them, either the disciples or Mary and Mary, greetings. And they came up and took hold of his feet and worshiped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee and meet him. So there's a go to the disciples. There's a go to my brothers. And again, as visionary leaders, we want to go to the nations. We want to go make disciples. We want to go do outreach. We want to expand the kingdom. We want to grow the kingdom. We want to push back the borders of the kingdom, take more and more territory in a metaphorical, spiritual sense. That's what we're called to do. That's thinking apostolically, like in the book of Acts. But we also need to go with a message to the disciples and the brothers. I'm not sure the difference. I know we can split hairs on who were the brothers, who were the disciples, but the point is, it's an internal group. We go to the disciples, we go to the brothers, we get all on the same page, and then we get down to this verse 19, go therefore and make disciples of all nations. We get to verse 20, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded you. Behold, I'm with you always to the end of the age. And there's that promise of the presence. When we work with the disciples, the believers, the people who are already following Jesus, and we work with the brothers, maybe that's more of an inner core, then together we go to the nations. Don't attempt going to the nations alone. Don't try to do the commission of God that Jesus gave to a group of disciples, a group of leaders, a group of apostles. Don't try to do it alone. It's not an individual commission. It's let's work with the disciples, let's work with the brothers, let's get on the same page, and let's go together to make disciples of all nations. Leadership is about gathering people together for global mission.